Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Sistas. This is season 8, episode 13. Yep. I'm late. I apologize. Keeping up with 3 shows on the same day is a lot. And I don't want to make excuses because I signed up for this, and I'm going to do better. I won't really get any relief until February sometime. Doing Sisters Salt Lake City in this is a lot, but I'm gonna get it done the best that I can. Thank you for sticking with me, that do stick with me. Please like this video, and also you can subscribe if you are new, and you can leave your comments below. Let's get into it. Okay, so Zach, Fatima, Karen, and now Aaron, they're up at the hospital. Of course, Zach and Aaron are going at it. Aaron is feeling a type of way because he feels like the stress that Karen is getting is from Zach, and Zach is not going to be a great father, da-da-da-da-da-da. Fatima breaks it up. Fatima also tells Zach, you owe her an apology. The doctor comes out because they still going, look, y'all need to handle this stuff on your own and not in the hospital, and y'all need to keep the stress out of Karen's life and act like adults. So finally, Aaron and Zach, they still kind of just fussing. They're not really tussling at this point. Karen said, look, I'm just going to go home by myself. I'm getting up out of here. Y'all ain't going to just keep stressing me out. And then all of a sudden she tells Aaron, well, didn't you offer to take me home? So take me home. And then he goes. Andy and Hayden, I think that Andy's at the hospital. They talk about the police think that Penelope was the one that stabbed Gary. And then Hayden dangles her career over her head about it's basically non-existent because of all the stuff that's going on. And as your career is, so is your love life. I mean, Hayden, you don't have none, or whatever you're doing with Tamara again. We haven't seen her in a lot of episodes. We saw her in one at the beginning of the new season. So I don't know what y'all got going on. Andy calls Jordan, and then I guess at some point she hung up from there, and we hear someone pick up and says, I need to see you. Then we find out it's Robin. And we'll get to them in just a minute. At Danny's house, Sabrina's still there. Sabrina insists that she's going to stay overnight with Danny. Danny is now feeling tired. And while Danny lays down, Sabrina goes and calls Rich and says, why did you bring Tony over here? And Rich says, look, he was worried about her and all that, and I just can't see myself not being there for my boy. She said that she understood, but don't surprise us like that because it's not going to end well, especially with Danny. Rich tells Sabrina about Penelope's arrest. So back at home, at Karen's home, one of the babies start kicking, and Aaron says that this must be Zach's. Just makes a little joke, and Karen's not really laughing, so he was like, "Ooh, it's a little too early, isn't it?" He apologizes. Karen says it was for her. Oh, the reason all of this happened as far as her being in the hospital, because Aaron just kind of is like, I wish Zach hadn't done all this, da 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 da. And she said, well, it's really my fault. I shouldn't have gone over to Fatima's home. I was upset because of all the demands that Zach was making on me as a mom, and no, it's not going to happen. I knew Fatima would have a fit, and Aaron said, did you do this just to piss off Fatima? She said no, but I know the internet went crazy because they don't like Karen. Well, at least the ones that are Fatima fans and Fatima fans. Aaron asked, did something trigger you to go into false labor? She says no. But we know that she went into false labor right after she found out that Fatima was pregnant. So she says to Aaron, it was just stress. So I don't know how they're going to play that up later, but we'll see. Karen ends up confessing, I didn't like what happened between you and Zach, but it was still nice to be that I was defended. They get into an embrace and about to kiss. Miss Lisa pops in and disrupts all of that. Back at the Taylor's home, Zach is kind of feeling bad over the words that Aaron was saying, am I going to be a bad dad? And Fatima's like, of course not. Look at how you are with Michael and all that. You're going to really take care of our baby and all that. Da 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 da. They talk a little bit about Karen. She says, I think Fatima was like, Karen is making effort in the co-parenting thing, but you got to stop with that extra stuff. And then there's got to be a wink from the bride. It's like, dang, she has been pregnant for so long. I found out that, because I stopped at some point, that Karen has been pregnant since the tail end of season 3. Is that correct? That's a long time. Like, she just got a baby bump season 7. So y'all say that, I don't get it. Y'all don't like the new writers, and y'all said that they're dragging out stuff. So Mr. Tyler Perry wasn't dragging out stuff? That doesn't make sense to me, because Karen didn't even have a baby bump until the season I started watching again, which was season 7. So from the tail end of season 3 to season 6, to the end of season 6, that's 3 seasons. So what are y'all talking about? Okay. Andy tells Robin, Robin comes over and Andy tells him that I need you, and she asks, will you present for Penelope? And he's like, well, that's really a conflict of interest, and I'm really representing you. And Andy said, no, you're not. He said, oh, well, you were just really upset and I'm still going to represent you, blah, 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 blah. Then he shifts and says, well, if I do this favor for you, what will I get in exchange? And Andy said, not a damn thing. So Robin only said that I will agree to meet with her, not making any solid decisions at this point. Sabrina and Danny gets back up, or something to that nature. Sabrina makes some chamomile tea. And then Danny said, great, I have some sweetener in the cabinet. And Sabrina goes up there and look, and it's some liquor. And Sabrina's like, no, we're not doing all that. She has some honey, and that's the only sweetener that you're gonna get. Danny says that she had a nightmare. That's what woke her up. She had locked all her vices up in a cabinet, which was weed, liquor, and a representation of a peen, if you know what I mean. And she kept hearing the cabinets knocking to let them out, let them out, let them out. Next thing you know, she opened up the cabinets and all this liquor was spilling out. The weed was drowning in it, and the sexual partners that she's ever had were swimming in it. Of course, that's very metaphoric as to what's going on in her life right now, trying to get those vices under control. They begin to talk about Karen going into false labor. Danny was ready to get up and lead an army. Like, how come you didn't tell me? Look, we got to go over there. And Sabrina was like, she's okay. She's fine now. And they talk about Penelope. And they said, well, that makes sense. I mean, look at the material. She could easily go for a crime of passion, which I believe also, too. All right, so back at Karen's home, Miss Lisa said, I'm sorry that I didn't really get a chance to talk with you, to get to the hospital with you. I was on this camping trip, and it took me a minute to get back here. Karen said, I'm fine. Um, so then, of course, she addresses Aaron and says, I'm going to take you from here. And Aaron was like, okay, cool. I can come by tomorrow. And Ms. Lisa said, be sure to call. So then Aaron leaves and all that good stuff. And Karen was like, what was all that for? Well, aren't you the one, Karen, that wanted all these boundaries? And she said, well, I'm kind of loosening up my boundaries. I'm starting to see him in a different light. And Lisa said, does that have anything to do with Zach? No. So are you turned on, or are you falling in love with him? Because this is around the time where pregnancy hormones, where your sex drive rises up. Are you just wanting sex, or you want something more from him? Maurice has to meet Pam overnight. No, it was just funny. So Maurice had a special request. He wanted every single bottle of Roots to Riches that he could find, that she could conjure up. And she said, well, why do you need it? You're almost balding, so you need to give it up. And he ended up going into a soliloquy of as to why he needs it and what's going on. One time, him and his dude, is it Quentin or Quincy, whoever it is, were ready to get it on. They didn't have anything around them, and they used Roots to Riches as lube. I said, Lord. So he wants all that stuff. He says it's better than petroleum jelly. I said, Lord Jesus. So he said, Rich my root. I said, Lord. Now, if they were smart, if Pam was smart, maybe delved over into the sex industry and make it a lube, since it seems to be so great. Hudson. Okay, so Agent Wells comes up to the hospital and wants to speak with Gary. Hudson is very protective and all that good stuff, and Agent Wells is like, well, why are you this protective when at the beginning of this whole investigation you were ready for people to find out what happened to Gary and to arrest whoever did whatever? And he just says, I'm just protective. Quit stonewalling me. So Agent Watts finally goes in and talks with Gary. Gary doesn't have any memory. I'm not believing that at all. Do I know you? I think Agent Wells says we're friends. He's trying to help Gary remember who stabbed him. Do you remember who stabbed you? And would you like to answer some of these questions? Hudson was like, absolutely not. I have power of attorney. He ended up saying, as he's trying to recollect, that I saw a woman. So a woman is the one that did all this. Doubt it. I don't know what's going on, but I just doubt it. So Jordan, Rich, and Tony, they're out someplace, and they get a text from Andy. Oh, he gets a text from Andy. Robin agrees to meet with Penelope. So Jordan tells Tony and Rich, like, isn't that a conflict of interest? It's like, yeah. I think Jordan says, it's all my fault. I never should have gotten involved with Andy, and now look at all this mess that's going on. But I mean, Gary and Penelope were together already, and he got her pregnant. So I don't know how that's your fault. But and then Jordan says that even after everything that's happened, that he still loves Andy. I said, okay. I don't know what's going to happen with that relationship, but I think season 9 needs to be totally different than season 8. I think it was good to have this type of break, do this whole mystery of crime, and see where it can go from there, just to reset and to get into some new storylines. Hopefully we get that. Zach, Fatima, and Andy. Andy comes by the Taylor's home, and they say that they started their own investigation into what happened to Gary, and they showed them the crime board. And she was like, why are all these people up here? They don't think that Penelope did it, and Andy said, I don't believe so either. Again, they show her the board. They think it's Robin. And Fatima went into, all the creep stuff that I feel like Robin is doing. There's motive there as to why he would have gone on and stabbed, what's his name? Gary. Then they talk about Penelope. They think that there's something that may have just sealed Penelope's fate as far as how that she's going about doing things. So that was the end of the episode. I'm kind of needing some type of, I know we're building up. I just want that extra adrenaline in me with this story and see if we can wrap this up before the finale, whenever that's going to be. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Stay tuned for Zatima. I have to catch up on that. Thank you for riding with me. And until the next video, peace.